Welcome to the BirdGang Nation Sports Media Show, repping the greatest team of all time. Let's go! BirdGang 31, he be the host with the most. We going deep, burning teams. They ain't nothing but toast. It's Senior Rested. Sirianni put me in coach, running like Miles Sanders till I bump my head on the post. Touchdown! Yeah, that's coming. Devontae's crazy route running. Jalen hurting them, throwing lasers to Rager, young gunning. Come on! On the D side, we ride, sack him with Fletcher, lay him out on the stretcher. No one can protect you. Watch Darius lay him, shutting down your routes. Come on! In my green John, eating Philly cheesesteaks. Put up your cups, wings up, if you can relate. Tailgating at the link like Gangsta Stride. To the BirdGang Nation, that's worldwide. On Sundays, catch the pre and post game. Mondays is Birds on Broad Street with Philly Notion and Cool Cat, the man in motion. And Wednesdays, the midweek special got you open with JC from Eagles Talk, hitting like B-Dog, baby.
What's good, everyone? Philly Insider Podcast here on BirdGang Nation Media Sports. Thank y'all for tuning in. First off, make sure y'all go check out all the links in the description for BirdGang Nation Sports Media and everything you need to get there. And yeah, a bunch of content creators there. We're on it on every Thursday now. We're going to try to get a time solidified probably around this time so we can watch some Thursday Night Football and chill with you guys. And it's when me and Sanjay are both free too. So with that said, guys, thank y'all for tuning in. Sanjay, how you doing, man? How you feeling right now? Outside of the Eagles and with the Eagles.
So outside of the Eagles, it's an okay week, back in school, going about school business.
Okay.
Just taking care of all that.
Nice.
Did my fantasy lineups, did my pick'ems. And with the Eagles, I've been slowly getting used to the pain. I've just started the acceptance that we'll get into this more. I'm sure you'll bring it up and I'll say it again. But the acceptance that this really is a tank season again is just, it's starting to make me feel better, but I still know it's going to hurt just as bad come Sunday when I watch us probably get 50 points dropped on us.
Honestly. Yeah. I mean, this is a rebuilding phase. I think we kind of got that put in perspective again on Monday, it was Monday. I'm forgetting the days now because of how lonely it's been. But I do think that, again, this wasn't going to be an overnight thing. And, all these guys are learning and not everyone's going to stick around after the rebuild. But
I don't think we expected it to be this bad, though, fam.
No. And I think it's something we've gotten used to as Philly is one bad season is one bad season, right? That's not something that builds upon another season. Maybe you have 2 7-9 seasons in a row, but I don't think we're hoping it's not going to be another 4-11-1 season. I mean, I think if we go my realistic prediction was 7-8 wins, and I still think that's attainable for sure. So with that said, before we get further into it, Sanjay, I think I first want to talk about a guy who I was on film really impressed with, who I didn't expect to be as impressed with. Andre Dillard, I thought, played really, really well this past week. I think he deserves a lot of credit for, he had everything to play for. I mean, no matter what the circumstances were, this guy had every reason to come out there and prove everyone, I don't want to say wrong, but prove to everyone that he could still play at a high level and be a good left tackle in the league. And it's one game, but I think we at least saw, I don't want to say similarities. I thought he played better than his rookie year a little bit, but, I thought he played really, really well. And I think that that's good for his trade value too, because he's not to me he's not playing here long term. And I'm really interested to see. I'm checking the injury report right now. I don't believe Mailata. Yeah, he's expected to miss his second game. And we'll get into the O-line as a whole. But what do you think of Dillard, man? How do you expect him to build on this? And thoughts, I mean, if you want to get into the O-line as a whole after that, go for it.
This is the best compliment I can give Dillard. I heard Micah Parsons' name specifically called out in the broadcast maybe twice on Monday.
And Lane Johnson, too.
That's the best. Yeah, obviously, they move him around. But, like, my point being, that's the best compliment I can give Andre Dillard. And he really did, if you ask me, have, like, a good game, obviously. I'll be honest, I haven't gone back and looked through the whole game snaps. I can only rely on what I saw in real time while I was watching the game. The games, honestly, are usually, like, the day after I go through and I watch, like, a good bit of the tape on, like, players I'm interested in seeing how they did. Guys I don't feel I got a good enough image of during the game. But I'm going to be perfectly honest, man. I haven't watched a single snap of film, like, from that game.
Understandable.
I can't bring myself to do it. So that game's just going to get lost. I'm not going to say much film analysis-wise on that. But in real time, when I was watching the game, Dillard looked good. It looked like he was holding his own in pass protection. We don't know how well he can hold the ball, how well he can do in run protection, considering we called it twice. So, yeah, I'm not really sure.
Well, we know, but Jalen Hurts held onto the ball, and then he got an ineligible man downfield a couple times. But yes, point still stands.
Point being, I think Dillard had a good game. And like you said, he's probably not going to be here for like 10. It's not 10. Like, he's probably not going to be here for the next like 4 or 5 years. I think that's a bit much. To Drew's comment below, why wouldn't you trade him? Wouldn't you want depth? So we do want depth, obviously, for this season, and obviously for a good bit of the rebuild. But if it ever gets to the point where, like, one, we have to do things with his contract, because we have Mailata already on his contract, it wouldn't make sense to pay him if he performs up to starter quality level. Like, you just can't do that. I'm trying to think who did, like, fringe starter good. I'm forgetting on the name. Vaitai.
Yeah, and I think Dillard's better than him too. So
no, I know, but that's my point. Then the situation becomes even more applicable.
That's what I'm saying.
Vaitai wasn't a starter for us, but he was fringe good enough to be a starter for another team. So when it came time for the contracts, we couldn't pay him that, but somebody else would. When that happens to Dillard, inevitably with Mailata here, we are not, unless he outperforms Mailata and takes the starting spot, we're not going to be able to pay him what he's worth to be a backup offensive lineman. That's just not going to happen. So under that assumption, you kind of want to trade him out then while he's still with us, maybe in like his last year of his contract or something, just to get something back for him. So yeah, that's why we're talking about trade instead of depth. It's not like immediately get rid of him tomorrow. Like, eventually we're not going to be able to extend this guy as long as Mailata keeps doing well. So
and look, he's a he's a former first round pick too. Like, the dude's going to have some value, especially after playing well on Monday night. And if he plays well this week too against Kansas City, which has Chris Jones and Frank Clark, he's going to, it's going to even boost his value even more. So, and not to mention too, like, you can find swing tackles for depth rather than just have one left tackle as your backup there, right? Like, you can find a LaRaven Clark. You can find a Vaitai in the draft too, which we did. And that was a little ugly at first, obviously, but Jeff Stoutland got that man paid for the Lions in free agency somehow. Hey, shout out to Jeff Stoutland. Not sure how he does it, but anyway, yeah. I don't think you can keep him around. But going on the topic of the whole offensive line, so say Milo's out for the season now. I want to give a quick little piece on this just because that's my guy. I mean,
defend the homie.
He's the man. I don't think I need to defend him at this point. I mean, I think everyone knows he's a really solid offensive line, very above average. Look, that's a huge loss, and you saw it last year. He got hurt last year at one point, and we suffered. We're going to suffer without him this year too. You look at Dickerson and him being like way too upright and, having some footwork issues and all that. And then you look over to the left guard and you see Sam Milo with his flat back and just like making sure to anchor in pass protection. Like, the dude knows what he's doing. He's one of the best at left guard. I think, there's a lot of really, really good left guards, but I think he's definitely, one of the better left guards in the league. And look, it's going to hurt because this team has already experienced a lot of O-line issues already. And it's not even just about, say, Milo, because I really have no worry about Herbig starting there. That's not my concern. It's that once again, we're in this situation where, last week we had a different starting offensive line. And this week with Sayamalu out, we're going in with a different starting offensive line. And communication takes time to build that with your other teammates. While we have depth there and, we're not worried about the individual performance, there's a lot of communication that goes on within the O-line. So Sayamalu not being there, a guy who already knows everything, has played next to Kelsey for so long, that's an issue. So, look, I think Herbig's going to do a good job. Speaking on that a little bit, I'm not happy that Sayamalu got hurt, but I am happy that Herbig's finally going to get to play because I think it was important for him at some point this season, whether it was through injury. Pretty much only route was through injury, but I figured Brandon Brooks would get hurt at some point. That didn't surprise me. I think it would have been – I was hoping that he would get some starts this year, and I think that's crucial for Herbig because in my eyes, he is the future right guard. And I think Driscoll could also be – you could also make a case for that as well. He plays right tackle too, though. So my ideal future offensive line would be Mailata, Sayamalu, Dickerson at center, Herbig at right guard, and then Driscoll at right tackle. So I'm excited to see Herbig play. And Herbig can play either side too. Like that's not something that really phases him. I would say. I know Dickerson's gotten used to right guard, but he's only played it for a week and a half. I wouldn't mind him playing left guard and putting Herbig at right guard just in terms of comfortability because I think Dickerson has played left guard a little bit more from what I know. So, yeah, I think you want to speak. Sanjay, we're already on our third different starting combination. So, anything you want to speak on that?
Well, third different starting combination beats what we had last year. So, that's so far.
It could get up there.
Point being. We're not unused to this. We're not unused to this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
that's
all. I don't have much else to say about the O-line, man. Like injuries are doing us in once again.
Yeah.
You just see it. This is gonna and honestly, you lose a wide out, you lose a running back, it hurts. But you lose an offensive lineman, man, and you just see the way the whole game seems to change right out of the gate. It's just really bad. I can't imagine how protection is going to look this week. I just really don't know how guys are going to adjust. I'm curious about Herbig just because was Dickerson getting reps now because Herbig really has digressed and that he couldn't play that role? Or was that just to give Landon some snaps under his belt? Can Herbig solidify himself a spot on this line possibly for the future? Like you mentioned, he's a young lineman we have with a lot of promise. Can he start to snag himself a bit bigger of a role? And Driscoll, I don't know where I stand on Driscoll yet. I just don't think I've seen enough of him. I've seen enough to make me intrigued. I haven't seen enough to say that I'm confident in him being the future for us either. So I'm willing to put Driscoll in the up there category. But bottom line, there's just a lot of young guys who need to prove themselves pretty much now. Mm-hmm. More than half our line with Dickerson, Herbig, and Driscoll would be having to prove themselves. So I'm just curious to see how that all plays out.
I think we have a lot of young promise there. And as long as they're, in the future playing together, hopefully we'll be good. What was I going to say? Yeah, I think as far as Herbig, I would take the latter. I think they're just trying to get Dickerson experience, and he's the second-round draft pick too. I don't think it's any indication of Herbig. And again, the man, I say this all the time, but he lost weight. There's the way he played at his weight last year, him turning that into muscle, hopefully. I'm hoping he's going to be dominant. But we will see soon enough on Sunday, and it's not going to be an easy matchup for him in his first start of the year. And we saw he did struggle a little bit in his first start last year. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I know we got a lot of Phillies comments in here, so there are only two. But I'll just address it. Phillies suck. I made a rant yesterday before they got eliminated because I knew they were going to get eliminated today. So yeah, go check that out. But I don't know. These player accounts, man, they just something else. Vince, you're not in the playoffs either, buddy. So don't even come talk. But Blue City Empire Sports, what's going on, man? This is a good one. I'd like to talk about this. Let's honor him. Sonic 2.25 says Shady retiring as an Eagle. What do you think, man?
Man, if I could go run upstairs right now and put my Shady jersey on. Shady for me for the longest time was just that iconic running back for the Birds. It was beautiful to watch him play, man. Just the way he had everything in his bag. He could do it in the pass catching game. He could make you miss. He wasn't the biggest guy, but he could get you between the tackles. You didn't wrap him up. He'd make some moves and he'd get through. Just a pro's pro. Oh, snow game. Dog. We miss you, Shady. All the respect to Shady. All the respect to Shady. I can't wait for him retiring tomorrow as an Eagle. I think it's just the best thing. I'm going to be so happy for that. Shout out Shady, man. Love the guy.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just remember him. I think it was a preseason game where he juked out the entire Panthers roster. I mean, it was something special. And he just had so many iconic moments as an Eagle. Like you said, the snowball is the one that just – I could watch that highlight video just on repeat. I mean, I remember the first time I saw him play in person, only once, but I went to Indianapolis for a Monday night game. And he didn't even have that big of a game, but, like, just some of the ankle breakers, like seeing him in person break guys was just so cool. I will say Darren Sproles went off for 160 receiving yards that day. So that kind of took away some focus from Shady. But, he was a special player, and so glad to just see him coming back to Philly. And I wish he could play on Sunday, but, he's not going to get the ball, so it doesn't matter. But I would wish they would just run him out of Wildcat the whole game and just see if we can have a chance of winning. But anyway, though, Dustin Brown comes in here. Linebacker needs to step up. It's years since we had a good linebacker. Man, you're telling us, bro. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, we talked about that in our post game. And, it was so ugly, man. I couldn't agree with you more, Dustin.
No, it was bad. I'll keep it real short. Even my boy Singleton, who, for those of you who watched Insider Pod, know, I love Singleton. He looked lost. Mans was like staring all around him, like, which route am I supposed to be on here in pass coverage? And in run coverage, he just wasn't hitting with his usual speed. Like, he was second-guessing himself, staying back. He was getting hit instead of delivering the hit like he normally does, Mm-hmm. And, oh, my gosh, Eric Wilson officially can't pass cover either anymore. At least you could argue that he was decent at that. He couldn't do that for his gosh dang life. My goodness. So I'll just say that.
Yeah. As for Singleton, too, just such poor angles to the ball as well. And we can't afford that when our other linebackers can't really, even if they get to the right spot, they're going to get bulldozed. So, we need Davion in there. I want Davion in there to just, honestly, at this point, like, I don't care about the mistakes. Just let him learn. I mean, that's what it's got to be. So
just let him absolutely blow somebody up one play and then just absolutely whiff on a screen the other play. I'm okay with it.
I'd be fine with that. I mean, looking at him on the special teams last year, he was like, whenever I'd go back and watch the special teams plays, I would watch specifically him just to like key in on him. Obviously, my boy Rudy Ford, like I had to watch him first, but Davion Taylor, there were a couple of plays like you don't see on the TV camera angle, and I'm just watching this dude. Like there was one play where he just literally tossed a body to the sideline, and there was another play where he just blew someone up because Kayvon cleared the way for him. And he's got he can lay the boom. I mean, he might not be the biggest guy, but he can have that that big hit each game, and he's got some strength to him despite the maybe not being the biggest guy on the field, but and he's just athletic too. Like he's really fast. He can just bowl across the field, and it just comes down to the instincts and IQ for him. So I want to see him play more. But what's going on right in here? Drew, yeah, I mean, not at all. It just seemed like everyone was staying back and watching last game, like Sanjay said. So I don't know, man. I want to turn it to you. What do you want to talk about, man?
What I want to talk about, bro?
Spot.
Let me see.
Yeah. Anything.
Going into this, I just say, so let's assume now, I said this at the start of this whole thing, with this probably being another tank season, and with us probably ending up with another high draft pick. And we also have draft picks from the Wentz trade, too. Howie's looking like he made off better and better with that trade by the day. But
yeah, facts.
Point being, we got a little bit of draft capital in this next upcoming draft, So now what do you think? I think we'll be able to have a max of 3 first-rounders next year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So give me 3 positions which you think we need to fill with those 3 picks, and give me the order you think you want those picks in.
1 safety. 1 is safety for me. That is absolutely one of the most crucial.
You want a safety 1 in the first round?
Well, I'm not saying they pick him first. I'm talking about what I think our biggest needs are.
Okay, got it.
Safety, I mean, you could kind of group linebacker in there too. But safety to me is so crucial because you have Anthony Harris. Well, we'll see how
I'm getting lower and lower on Harris by the game, man. The film that I have watched with Harris, not from this past week's game, but previously, it doesn't look too good.
So here's what I'll say. Harris, it's only been 1 or 3 games so far. So I'm going to give him the whole season. We'll evaluate him after the season, but even if it's not a guarantee we re-sign him. So even if he plays well, he's on a 1-year deal. McLeod's had 2 major injuries. Kayvon, I don't think that he's really up there. I mean, I really think he's just kind of a depth piece / third safety at this point. Not confident in him. Epps is just I think he's a good depth guy. I really do. He knows the team. He's played in Zimmer's scheme before back in his rookie year too. So, Epps, I feel confident about him being a depth guy, but to me, linebacker, I think I can at least say the young talent, like Davion, for example, and Alex, the young guys we have there, and even TJ and Sean, I think we have young guys there who I think you can at least count on one of them developing. And I'm not saying one of them will, but I think that one of them can. But let me say this, even though I have safety first, it's not a large gap between safety and linebacker. And by the end of the year, I could totally flip to linebacker.
So I'm guessing safe to say linebacker's number 2.
Yeah. So safety, I want Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame. That's the guy who I'm eyeing up right now. Yeah, linebacker, I don't have anyone specific, but that's just always been a need. But I have a tough time putting that in the first round because we're not going to draft them. 3, this is a tough one for me. So I think there's a lot of different routes they could go. Look, I think corner is the one that comes to mind just because Slay ain't getting younger, and I don't think his play has really gone down. I really don't think his performance has decreased that much. I mean, he's played well. I don't really blame last week on him very much.
Age is the one. Age shows up fast at the corner position, though, man. You know how it is. Guy be popping off, and then next year he's down.
Yeah, my point being, though, is that not just his age, but you're probably not going to re-sign. Well, age, yes, but my point being is that he's not on a long-term deal. And like you said, it does get to there. And what I want to make is that I don't think his play is going to decline with us, but I don't think they're going to be willing to take the risk, even if he does play well. I don't think they're going to be willing to take the risk to re-sign him. So he's coming up on a contract year. You have Steven Nelson, who's on a 1-year deal, who I think has played very well. But, again, all these guys, you don't know who's going to re-sign out of them. Avante, he's coming up on contract too. And he's a good slot corner, but you can find slot corners all around the league. And, yeah, look, I think that's definitely a spot where there's going to be a lot of guys available in this draft. Derek Stingley comes to mind. There's, I think Andrew Booth on Clemson comes to mind. There's a couple other guys too. But, yeah, I think that point being, I think you can see from my picks, defense is absolutely the need right now. And, Jalen does play the way he did Monday for the majority of the season, which I think here's my opinion. I think Jalen is going to bounce back, whether that's for good or for bad. And for bad, I mean if he plays well enough this season to where we don't draft a quarterback, which is what I think could very well happen. I think they could absolutely keep him if he shows enough for them that they want to see if he can make more improvements in year 3. So I want to make that clear. I'm not saying I want to keep him around or that I want him gone, but I think he's going to play well enough to where he's here for year 3. But at the same time, I don't.
Very carefully constructed answer, my friend. Very nice way to cover all the bases there.
Yes, exactly. You have to please everyone, man. But I do think if Howie's guy is there, he's not going to hesitate. Even if Jalen shows improvement this year, if Howie has his guy, he'll trade up multiple picks for him, whether that's Matt Corral, Malik Willis. So I think quarterback is kind of that fringe 3 for me right now, depending on how things play out with both Jalen and our season, depending on where our picks end up too. So I would not be surprised if he goes and jumps at a quarterback. Other than that, I would say I would also add in that I think wide receiver is something you got to watch just because I'm not sure these young guys are it. But at the same time, I think you could use a veteran in that group. But I think you could always add to everything. Defensive line, they're going to add to always. They always do that. I could see them using an early pick on one. Offensive line, they always get depth there in the middle rounds. So, how about you?
Hey, man. So for me, I'm going to do mine a bit differently from yours. You did yours in order of how you think what you feel the order is, what you feel we should prioritize. I'm going to do it along what I think realistically could happen. like with 3 first-rounders. So I'm going to exclude quarterback from even being a possibility for mine, just because I don't think that's fair to Jalen after one bad game. And I really have no idea where he's going to end up at the end of the season. So, like, in terms of how well he plays. So I'm just going to leave quarterback off even being a possibility. I'm not addressing it at all in this. Number 1, which I feel they'll address is, I feel Howie must see by now. I'm getting more and more down on Rager by the game, man. I'm really starting to lose confidence in this dude's ability to just play wide receiver consistently. Because I get it. He has occasional flashes where you see the athleticism, you see the route running, you see his potential. But my point being, those flashes are getting further and further apart. Like, and that's a huge problem. You can't have a guy who all you see in him is potential and he never lives up to any of it. And this is coming from a guy who's very high on Jalen Rager after we drafted him. So I get more down bad about him by the week, man. With that being said, I think wideout's got to be one of the first ones that Howie will realistically look at, and especially in the first round, too.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I know tripling down on a receiver is not exactly the move, especially when you've had opportunities to get other good guys, but there's actually a plethora of first-round receivers this upcoming year. Like, you thought the past couple years were good. This year is going to have a lot of guys available, at least in my eyes right now. So continue.
My point being, and especially with it being Howie, the fact that it's unusual probably makes it more likely for it to happen. Anyway, so yeah, point being, I'll put receiver at my realistic draft pick choice of number 1. Second, like you, I think that we really need just another young DB, just another young corner, just somebody to like be a staple there. Because right now what we have is a veteran secondary, basically.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but you need a young guy to raise up in that while you got all these old dudes with the techniques and who have been around the league and the professionalism to just show him through and just give him like a little bit of experience. And also, if you start a corner to play like on and off snaps with a veteran secondary, you also don't break their confidence too early. You ease them into their role instead of just chucking them out there against all these like assorted star wideouts we have in the NFL. Practically every team has one now. So like my point being, you kind of cushion the blow in terms of easing them in. So I think a corner is definitely number 2 on the list. And then third, I have to say, I'm not going to be like mixing things up much. So I'm sorry if that's not entertaining for you guys.
That's all good.
And even though we won't draft a linebacker in the first round, I think it's very possible that it should be a consideration just because, man, you need like a star guy in there to start competing, if not just to like start motivating the rest of these guys. Some of these guys are getting out there now because they know I'm the best this team has. If we get one of those guys, one of those star linebackers who fights for positioning, that'll inspire some competition at that spot, in my opinion, which is desperately needed at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my big talk on that. I wanted to raise that because, you know, coming into like the upcoming now with like a lot of focus, it's probably going to go towards like the draft research. Like,
right.
I unfortunately this is the year, for those who don't know, this is the year I'm taking the MCAT in the spring. I won't be able to do as much draft research this time around. I got to do a fair bit of it last year, and I got to admit, I enjoyed a lot of it. I'm going to miss doing that again this year.
Mm-hmm.
So like, that's one of those things I'll be keeping up with. I know, Hunter, I know you do a lot of that. I know Ian doesn't do a whole bunch of it, but I know he gets in with a few players. And Nate, I know, does a lot of it too. So I'm going to be talking to you guys, all making sure I can get like the various views. I know Rossi does a good bit too. Get the various views on these guys and start like thinking about who might be one of those new birds next year.
Yeah. Yeah. My plan last year was to make a big board, but I just did not have enough time to scout 300 plus prospects. But my goal this year is to get like at least 100 prospects on my big board and hopefully be able to scout that many guys. So we'll definitely have some content coming. But this season is still young. So if it's okay, I think we go back to what's coming up and just, you know, season end. We've got a lot of guys talking about Rager right now after your comments. So,
okay.
You know, obviously there was a whole DM thing that got revealed that those things can be made up. I will say that. Don't believe everything you see, guys. But at the same time, I'm not saying it's not real. you're going to see me tonight play a lot of both sides, as I have already in like 3 arguments. But
I don't like to comment on stuff like that. That's not what we're about here on this podcast. We'll cover sports news if it gets bad, but like petty things like that, we just try not to cover.
Here's what I'm going to say though, is that going off of that, whatever that is, put that aside. Rager does have some immaturity issues with the social media usage and all that from what we've seen. He deletes a lot of comments, makes comments private, which is fine. I mean, if you need that to help you just distract a little bit better, that's fine. But at the same time, he worries a lot about what analysts are saying about him on Twitter all the time. And this is putting aside the fan side of it. He worries a lot about what the analysts are saying about him. And I don't think that is going to be very conducive for him to be a good wide receiver. I mean, those two just don't go together. So look, I think he's got to be able to mature a little bit, man, because he's got the talent. And if he puts in the work, he can be a lot better. And last year I saw that he ran a lot of good routes, and that's why I defended him. What's up, Ian? I saw he ran a lot of beautiful routes, and that's why I defended him. But at the same time, he's having the same issues he's had last year. And I thought he was going to be able to overcome some of them because he overcame some of them at the end of last year again. He showed improvement, but now he's looking like the rookie he was again last year, and he's really only valuable in screenplays. Then again, Sirianni's not really getting the ball to him on those reverses I thought he would do a lot more of, and just the misdirection I thought would be a lot more present in our offense. So I just want to mention, I mean, a lot of people are mentioning Rager, so I just want to mention, like, you got to block out the noise at some point with, again, not talking about the fans, but you got to block out the noise with what everyone's saying about you sometimes. Just go out and perform. And I think that's a common issue with a lot of young guys these days because of the generation it is and the exposure to media we have and how quickly news spreads. I mean, some of these guys are finding out their teammates got traded before they even have told the team about it. Like that's how crazy things are today. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that. So he's got to grow. But anything you want to say on Rager's play style or any of the comments we got here?
I'll just repeat the sentence. Potential is great, but at some point you got to start living up to it. I say that about a lot of players just because it's such a true thing. Because I'll tell you this, short mini rant. I went from short sentence into short mini rant all throughout my life, man. I'm sure you've met the same. And almost everyone can relate to this. You see people with the most ability, the most potential in the world who just don't do anything with it. Or for better or worse, they just don't ever go after it. They don't fully live up to all of that. And that happens a lot more often than people actually doing their best and living up to their full capabilities. So, like, I say that a lot because I've seen it a lot. So not even just in sports, but like just in life. So that's a tough thing to say about somebody, but it's something that has to be said.
Absolutely. So I also want to mention a couple of these comments here. First off, in terms of being disinterested with Drew, I agree with you. I mean, you look at Devontae, Quez, and J-Jaw when they're run blocking. And I think this is a great example because while run blocking is probably the last aspect of a wide receiver you judge on, that's also kind of where you find the dog they have in them and the effort they put in. And I'm not saying the guys who don't run block don't have that in them because there's plenty of guys who, you get disinterested sometimes. But at the same time with Rager, I think it's just all too common with theme, not just with him run blocking, but just in general, where you just kind of see him just take himself out of the game almost in that sense. So, and I want to address Big Play Slice comment too. Like, I can make the case for Devontae on film not getting the ball from Hurst because he's being inaccurate or not making the right read or not even throwing the ball to Devontae, right? Because I've seen it. I've seen Devontae get wide open on film the first 3 weeks, even when he hasn't gotten the ball a ton and maybe hasn't put up big stats. Rager, I did see that at times last year. This year, I'm not seeing it as much. He's getting squeezed to the sideline still. He's still getting locked up at times. So I really can't make that case for him. I think there's times when he's gotten open, but I don't think that it's all on Hurts not getting him the ball. So I just wanted to say that. But I think both of them deserve blame. I mean, him and Hurts. They're both to blame for a lot of the lack of productivity. But with Hurts, I don't think it's any sense of him being disinterested. It's just he's got to grow as a player.
All right, man. I mean, I'm trying to think of other current.
I mean, I got stuff planned, but I just wanted to kind of leave it open.
You got something planned? All right, let's skip to yours. There was something I did want to say, but I forgot it. There's some topic which I wanted to mention, but I really just did forget.
I got you. Well, I mean, let's talk about next week coming up because look, we're facing the juggernaut Chiefs who are angry. They're going to also want to win for Andy Reid since he just came out of the hospital. Like, there's a lot of factors that just, and I don't want to say that, Andy Reid going to the hospital means they're going to win. But you know what I mean, though? Like, there is also a motivation factor. Like, hey, let's win this for coach, too. Point being, though, even without that, they're angry and they have a talented roster. And we just got terrorized by Dallas's team, which has a productive offense and has a much better defense. But this Chiefs offense, if they start clicking this week, and they will, I guarantee you that, it's not going to matter what our defense throws at them. And I do wish Gannon would switch things up a little bit. I'm not one to really there's times where I'll criticize play calling, but again, being someone who's around a high school team a good bit of the week, I just have the utmost respect for the play callers there and what they do and how much goes into it. But at the same time, I think there's also a difference between, saying, oh, he should be calling this, this, and this. It's like, no, but I do think that he's calling split safety a lot of time, and I understand that's his scheme, but I wish he would disguise it a little bit more and make it a little bit tougher on the opponent, because I think there's times where there were just easy reads for Dak that night, and he knew it was going to be split safety a lot of time, and they got guys down the seam that once you find, you get to your cover 4, cover 2 beaters, I mean, it's over for them, and you got to find ways to just you got to stay unpredictable, and he did have that one blitz where it was a 2-score game. It was 28-14, and he called that blitz off the edge, and, Dak got locked up. And if not for that, I mean, they probably would have gotten a completion. But, and I don't blame Gannon at all. But what do you think of the offense play calling we can talk all day about. But what do you think of the defense versus this Chiefs team? I mean, look, they are still trying to win games out here. And the Eagles do have a knack for showing up in games they're not supposed to be in. And they did hang in there with the Niners. Look, the Chiefs are a dominant team. It's probably not going to happen this week, but at the same time, they are going into this to try to win this game. So what do you think, if anything, they can try to do? I mean, you saw Todd Bowles last year go a lot of cover 4 and cover 3, and he just lived underneath in that Super Bowl game, and it worked to perfection because the Chiefs were expecting a lot of cover 1 from them. So I'm sure they'll have a lot of cover 2, cover 4 beaters ready this week. But what do you think they can do, if anything, to try to slow down the Chiefs offense at any point in the game? I mean, I think if you get 1 to 2 stops, you win this game with a good offense, and that's my little caveat at the end there. You with a good offense, because we don't have one. But I think if you get 1 to 2 stops, though, you can, and not maybe a few more than that, but you can kind of go home saying, our defense really is legit after a couple weeks. Even though I want to emphasize the Cowboys game. I really put a lot of that on the offense while Gannon had his issues. You can't just keep expecting them to go out there and not be fatigued. So that was my little spiel. But yeah, floor is yours.
I have one big fear. His name scares me because I play against him in fantasy this week. Travis Kelce is going to have probably maybe upwards of 100 yards, possibly 2 touchdowns plus. I'm playing Ian this week. Ian's going to easily get 40 points from Travis Kelce this week.
Ian's team been popping us just as much as yours, man.
He runs that little double tight end tech. He runs 2 tight ends. He's got Travis Kelce in the hockey. So he runs that little tech, and oh my goodness. Travis Kelce is going to have a field day versus our linebackers and secondary. He's just that perfect mix of too fast for a linebacker and too big for a corner. He's just going to go. He's going to go. And yes, you know what's it might be 200, but please don't make me worry any more than I already am.
Hey,
my tight end is Tyler Higbee. So that's maybe 10 points, maybe 15 points. So chill out.
At least we held Kittle and Pitts in check, but then Dalton Schultz is a problem for us. So
I don't know. Well, Kittle, they didn't really throw to him. Pitts, Matt Ryan is washed. But yeah.
I thought we did a good job just directing attention to them.
Either way, point being, Travis Kelce is going to have a field day against us. I don't think there's anything we can do to stop that. Hill, I'm interested in just because the kind of tech around the league this year has just been literally to just double him on everything. Don't even bother trying to fake the safety. Just commit the safety to him right away. And that's kind of worked. The past 2 games, Hill has basically been a non-factor. Don't get me wrong, the athleticism is crazy. But the knock on Hill was always that though his routes were decent, they weren't anything insane. And now this is the big thing. This is the big thing which I think hurts the Chiefs offense, man. The lack of Sammy Watkins. It was an absence that went kind of unnoticed. People were like, Mecole is going to step into this role. Robinson is going to step into this role. They got the next guy up. But, man, people don't understand how big Sammy Watkins was for that team. You couldn't double nobody with Sammy Watkins being your third wideout. That man would just go and get the ball. That is a pro's pro wideout. And now they don't really have that. Mecole hasn't stepped in that role. Robinson hasn't stepped in that role as of late. So now they're just like, we're no wideout 3. We're just committing. We're committing the safety to Hill every play. And, you're left one-on-one. Can your wideout 3 beat us one-on-one? And so far it's been a no. So that's an interesting thing. I'm very curious to see how that plays out. I want to know whether that's just Hill's been off the past few games or whether this is an actual technique to deal with Tyreek Hill. Right. Now, that to the side, and you obviously have Mahomes. This is going to be something. That O-line they have has been doing really well. And, our defensive line, Milton Williams has not been very impressive to me.
No.
Not been very impressive to me. Hargrave's still doing what he can. But Fletch is getting older, still been anchor there in the run game. But, the Chiefs run the ball like 5 times a game. So, yeah. My point being, I don't know. Their passing attack is going to have maybe – Mahomes might honestly throw for 500 on us. It is very possible. It's going to be a tough game to watch from a defensive standpoint. And the worst part is I know people will be ready to fillet our team, but, just the fact is the Chiefs have so much motivation to – bust our butts in this game. They're at the bottom of their division right now. Coach is coming out of the hospital. They need to get this win after just coming off an embarrassing loss to their division rivals. There's just so much working against us in this game that I have a hard time seeing it be anything but a massacre.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I'm a little worried about it. I could see the Eagles putting up a fight and making it close, but I don't think there's any avenue in which they win this game. And if they do, that would just be
If
wild.
they do, I'll be angrier than anything because that just means you'll have so much to be pissed off about from last week. And I won't have any idea where we stand. If we win this game against the Chiefs, I'm not going to have any idea what to do with this team for the year, man. How am I supposed to declare tank season and then we go beat the Chiefs? What am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah. Man, that would be something else. And also you'd also have to wonder what the deal is with the Chiefs too if we won that game. That would be 1-3 in September. Yeah. So look, this is going to be a tough outing. I'm not feeling very confident in it. I'll say that much. I don't know how we contain that offense. And look, Josh Gordon won't even be playing, but like Sanjay said, that wide receiver 2 spot isn't necessarily filled right now. So, there is some points of hope for our defense to kind of hopefully hold. Josh Gordon getting out of that offense is just going to be, if he's anything close to what he's been when he's even with the Seahawks. It's going to be interesting. But with the Eagles' offense. Look, this Chiefs defense is not good. If Sirianni's the man of his word in his press conference and all that, one, I do want to mention a little caveat too. I watched Gate City's video, and he was kind of talking about the RPOs in his press conference recently. And basically what Gate City took away, Gate City is a former coach, or I think he does still coach possibly. But anyway, what he took away from coach speak was that Sirianni, while he recognized he didn't run the ball enough, a lot of those RPOs could have been big runs where Jalen didn't make a lot of the right reads. And again, they're both at blame for it. Sirianni is still at the end of the day got to call more run plays, but both of them, whatever the case is, get it figured out this week and at least just show us that you can get that run game in a rhythm moving forward, because this is an opportunity to do it against a run defense that, quite frankly, is not that good, at least from what I understand. So, run the ball on the run. Run the ball with Miles, give Kenny some carries here and there as well, and get the wide receivers involved in the freaking run game for once. How many times am I going to say this before we get a coach who does it? I'm so sick of it. I thought Sirianni was going to do it, and it's only 3 games. It's only 3 games into the season, but he hasn't done it once. And I think I've seen Quez Watkins one jet motion one at a time. So get the ball into their hands and give them blockers out in space and let them go to work because we have wide receiver who can do it. I'm not a fan of Rager, but he can go out there. You give him blockers in space. He is awesome on the end around. So go get to work, and look, I'm going to say this too. You know what, Sirianni? Nobody cares. Work harder. I was just waiting to use that. But
I like that. I like that. Where'd you get that from? I ain't seen that one.
I got this today for the high school team. But
I like that.
Yeah, I do the drone for a high school team nearby, just so you guys know. But I'm not actually like on the team. That would be pretty awesome, though. I do wish I had played football in high school. But it is a sick sweatshirt. But really, like Sirianni, nobody cares, dude. Go to work. So anyway, that's my little rant with the pun I was waiting to use. Not really pun, but the little sweatshirt thing I was hoping to use. But anything you want to add on that? I mean, other than that, I think I've pretty much covered everything I want to cover. So a little bit of a shorter one tonight. But what do you
don't have to show towards Sirianni. You don't have to show your Bill Belichick out there this weekend. Nobody's expecting that of you. But you got to show a little bit of competency. When I say that, I mean the only time we've seen you actually be a competent play caller so far this year was in the Falcons game. And with every passing game where you come out here with these play calls that make no sense, this completely imbalanced offense, not getting guys open into space, not utilizing the talent you have in the best way possible. With every game passing, it looks more and more like that week 1 game was the Falcons' fault and had less to do with you. So, Sirianni, I don't need you to be out here world beaten. Sean McVay innovating, Kyle Shanahan running the ball like 80 times a game. But I need you to show competency. That's all I'm asking.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'll say this. My closing statement, Ryan Kerrigan, get a stat this week. 0 sacks and 0 tackles, probably 0 hurries too, in 94 defensive snaps. Do something this week. We need to see it. We need to see it. So, anything you want to say before we wrap up, man?
Nah, that's really it. I think we've covered most of the big stuff for this week.
I got you. Well, hey, thank you all for watching. Make sure you guys go check out the network links in the description. Check out everyone else who's on the network. And, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's go beat Kansas City. And enjoy your guys' week. We'll see you soon for the Eagles-Chiefs preview on our channel. Peace out, y'all.